Oh, Matt, zoom in on the face. YouTube famous. Hello everybody, here we go. I'm a bit day late on my usual, at least I hope I end up making this in the next day, all completed, but I'm going to talk about BattleBoards this time. The live stream went all about BattleBoards, and thank you to everybody who tuned in. That was awesome. I didn't expect, to have, some 20-some people come in and out with a regular, 10 watching on a Friday night at 8 o'clock, but, that was awesome, so I really appreciate it. And it just led to more questions afterward about BattleBoard, and to be honest, guys, this thing is an entire work in progress. It's just always changing. If you read my book, Insert Coin to Continue, you can see, and you've read, that the BattleBoard originally started as this sand table in the corner of my room that was purely decor. And then through encouragement with the kids, it became a thing. And then that thing was where kids just talked to me, giving answers back and forth. So they battled me, but there was actually no battle at all. It was just like, the answer to this is this, and I would say, it is, or it isn't, and it was kind of terrible, but kids enjoyed it, and they said, let's use this more. It eventually became this crude kind of tabletop. Then we had some pathways, more figures, more junk, and it became a thing to what it is now, which is this giant monstrosity in my classroom that I just continue to grow because it is super captivating, it is fun, it pushes me creatively to keep coming up with ideas. So I really wanted to talk about, people said, well, how do you run a BattleBoard session? Because it seems like it could, take a long time. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it's super fast, and I'll address that. It looks like it could be expensive. Technically, no. Most of my stuff is garbage or donations, and I'll reference kind of some ideas in a little bit. And third is, I don't know anything about running a tabletop game. I don't play D&D or Warhammer or whatever. Well, guess what? Neither do I. I've never played any of those games. Well, I shouldn't say it. My former student teacher, Mr. Cox, the coolest, he was one of the ones who inspired me to kind of motivate and change some of my BattleBoard last year when I had him, as I mentioned. He had me over one day and he showed me around. So I have played one round of Warhammer, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but hey, who cares? It was fun. So when it comes to a BattleBoard session, I'm going to talk about two things. One is the daily quick movement to keep it interactive every questing or mission-based day that you have. And two is what happens when it becomes longer, if they're engaging, interacting, having encounters and things like that. So I've got a group of awesome kids who gave up their lunch. I gave them a prize after, they didn't know. But they volunteered to give up their lunch to kind of demo some of the movements. I hope the video turns out. It was choppy and crazy, and I'm going to cut in and out and explain, and I don't know, it's a tough thing for me to explain the BattleBoard, but hopefully this video will make it make sense about how you run it, because it's actually really, really simple. I just sometimes, in my explanation, sometimes I butcher it, for lack of any better term, because I make assumptions really quickly that people know. So I'm hoping that this video will make sense. Okay, so let's check out the BattleBoard and meet my super awesome kids who helped me out today. So, thank you to my people who helped me out. Oh, Matt, zoom in on the face. YouTube famous. Oh, look at him, he's so happy, gonna be famous. So thank you guys for helping me. Okay, so the first thing that kids do is they have to do what's called rolling for leadership. I'm gonna do a video about skills, but the reason that we do this is because the skill system is something I added this year, which involves things like climbing and swimming, because I have those different types, I have mountains and water points and things like that. So they have to roll for leadership. What that means is each student, to start every BattleBoard session, is going to take a number between 1 and 6. My guilds are up to 6 players. Now, the question immediately comes in, well, what do I do if I only have groups of 4? Well, we have 4-sided dice. Easy fix. What about 5 or 7? Well, guess what? I have guilds of 7, and I have kids missing, so sometimes they BattleBoard with 5. So the solution that we came up with and again, involve your kids, involve your kids, involve your kids, can't stress it enough, was I gave them choice. I said, do you want it to be a miss number, or do you want it to be choice? And of course they picked choice. So hold up. Alright, so real quick, I didn't explain this well enough in the original, so I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to explain it real quick. When it comes to leadership roles, each kid is assigned a number, and your number should coincide with the dice, so the closest. So if you got 5 people, you want a 6-sided, you got 6, obviously use 6, 4, use 4, and etc. Now, what happens if you're short a member? Well, this is where I got the choice feature. So let's say this was student number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I just said, okay, you're 1 on the dice, 2, 3, 4, 5 in terms of selecting the leadership. So if we went ahead and we rolled a dice, and then the dice went ahead and produced the number 2, that means that this player and their skill set would come forward and they would be the leader for that session. But notice we do not have a number 6. That's why I put a big X here. So what happens if you go ahead and you roll a 6? Well, 6 becomes choice. Look at, watch how fancy I can write choice here. Look at this. It's unbelievable. This is a cool app, by the way, sketch.io. It's good for just, pull up on a whiteboard and you can do some stuff. So there's the word choice, very fancy. And that means that if they rolled a 6, they can pick who they want to be the leader for their guild. And that's a tactical advantage to them because let's say they wanted to climb something and they had someone with higher climbing skills, and you could go ahead and do that quite simply. So then the question goes, well, what if we have 7 people? Well, the same exact thing. Roll an 8-sided dice, and then whichever number the kids don't want becomes the choice number. Okay? So that is how that works. Hopefully that makes sense. Oh, wait, before I go, I said miss number. They can choose that 6 is a miss if they want. Kids will 100% never pick it, but you give it as an option. And that means if they were to roll this 6 right here, then what would happen is they would lose their BattleBoard session. So kids will never pick that option, but I always just chuck it out there because maybe one day I'll be shocked. But that's what leadership roles look like. Each student, let's say there are 6. That's 5. I should probably not teach math. That's 6. You got 6 of them. Each one of those 6 students is going to be assigned a number. I kind of did a little visual of this on the live stream from last week. So we roll the dice, and whatever number it lands, that becomes the leader. That doesn't mean that they make all the decisions and they're the boss. They still collaborate and talk. What it means is that their skill set is the one that's applied to that specific BattleBoard session, which means the duration of that, till they roll and they're out of rolls and then they're done. So if their climbing is really high, and they get to a rock, then obviously that would be a good day for them to try to climb this rock because of that skill system. The reason I do this is because when I introduce the skill system, which again, I will talk about hopefully in the next video, next week's or the week after, but here's kind of a little picture of it. You can kind of see it. What you're looking at is a series of skills. If you've read Insert Trying to Continue, then you'll be familiar with it. If not, it's a series of skills that would be apparent in the BattleBoard, like attack, defense, chance, all these different kinds of things. And we needed leadership so that, because kids were smart right away, and they said, okay, well, you level up this, I'll level up this, you level up that, we'll be amazing. Which, A, is wicked, because that's what you want as a teacher. You want them critically thinking about how to do better, right? Which is a wicked educational and life skill, right? Putting things constantly through thinking. But what they did was I needed to say, okay, well, that's too smart because then the game becomes just too easy. And the thinking element of the upgraded and kind of redone BattleBoard, I lose that. So this rolling for leadership forces decisions based on the skill set of the player that they are rolling. So here's what that looks like super quickly. Okay, guys, pick your leadership numbers.
6, 5, 2, 6.
Okay, go ahead and roll for leadership.
3. That's Kian.
Oh.
Kian, okay, Kian, you are the leader, so your skill sets matter for leading. So now that they've rolled for leadership, I've got these rulers and stuff. So in order to run a BattleBoard session, you need the following things. So first off, you need dice, okay? And I would recommend get a dice pack from a gaming store that have all the different types of dice. So in this is just a set that I bought. But again, you have your little 4-sided dice all the way to your 20-sided dice. You have your 10-sided, your percentage, your classic 6, your 12, and of course your cool double pyramid 8. Now, these have to do with weapons and things, which I will talk about in a second. But what you do for my movement, and this is going to totally be dependent on your game, is how much you want them to move per roll. For me, the easiest solution was a 6-sided dice. There we go. Just your classic 6-sided dice. Why? Because I was donated this by Dungeon Crate, which is just this cool little ruler. Every number on the dice equates to feet. So because the characters were trying to get into just a little bit of perspective and like a legend on a map, one one number on the dice equals one of these. So if you roll a 1, you move 5 feet. 2, you move 10 feet. 3, all the way up to 30 feet. And again, to be clear, they're not actually moving 30 physical feet. They're moving this. What is this actually in reality? Because you can't see from perspective here. This is 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches, all the way to 6 inches. So that's just a 6-inch little measurement ruler.
Hold up.
If you have anyone who does Warhammer, they have these sticks that they use for firing their bullets. I get used to this mirroring. Normally they're, I believe, like 22 inches or something long. I just cut one to be 6 inches. You don't have anything like that? Guess what? Totally doesn't matter. Grab a 6-inch ruler. When you got a 6-inch ruler, boom. You don't have a 6-inch ruler? Take a piece of cardboard, make it 6 inches, cut it into 6-inch intervals. Go for it. That would work too. You could use 8 inches. You could use 12, whatever it is you want. But I find the size and scale of my battle board, 1 inch of movement per number on a 6-sided dice work totally perfect for me. The second thing you're going to need, aside from dice and your measuring stick, is a health counter in order to track encounters with the monsters. In the live stream, I referenced the health tracking sheet. So I'll put, if I remember, God, I hope I do, put the link to the live stream description in the bottom, and you will check out that live stream, and I'll talk about the health. But you just want one of these dials in which to track any monsters if they fight. Now again, this was 3D printed through Thingiverse, and again, I linked it in the live stream. But you don't need that. You can take a whiteboard and just write, oh, this character has 40 health when you fight it, and then all you do is you literally write 40 on the whiteboard. Oh, they get 10 damage. You erase it and write 30. This is just fun, and I wanted to challenge myself with 3D printing. And again, it's just a little dial and a wheel, and you can use that. You can use a regular piece of paper. You don't have whiteboards, no problem. Laminate a piece of paper. You don't have laminators. Take a white piece of paper covered in clear packing tape. You don't have that. Write on a chalkboard, chisel it into stone. It doesn't matter. You just need something in which to track health. Or if you have a rock solid mind, then just do it in your brain. But I'm way too scatterbrained for that, as you can see. So once you have those things, the kids just roll for movement. So here's part number 1 is your daily roll. So every single day that I quest, which is when the kids work, they get their daily roll. And depending on how I feel, this is totally subjective to me and how much I want them to move, they get between 2 and 4 free daily rolls. Now you earn rolls by completing tasks, challenges, missions, cards, battle sheets, all those different kinds of things in my classroom. And again, totally whatever fits your classroom, you do. But what I do is I just say, okay, today you're going to get 3 free rolls. So I give them 5 minutes, and they have to work. They have to earn it. If they're screwing around and goofing around, they never get their free rolls. And kids call that bluff right away. They don't move. Other teams progress, and whoops, and then they work better, okay? A little bit of a carrot on a string, or you could say it's a dice on a string. I'm so stupid. Anyway, so from there, the kids come up and they roll. So I'll say, okay, let's say you got 3 free rolls today. I'll call up a guild. You'll watch the kids do this right now. They're going to chuck the dice down the tower, and they're going to then collaborate together what direction they want to move. In the video, they use this movement tool, which is cool. Again, I used to use this thing. You could use whatever measurement device you want, and whatever measurement length, distance, unit that fits your battle board. So you got a big one, big movements, medium one, medium movements. You want to just use little whatever. Doesn't matter. Totally whatever fits. So here they are just moving and collaborating, and I'll just kind of, have at or let them do it. Okay, so I'll give you 4 rolls now. So go ahead and roll for your movement. And you can use either of the movement rulers.
Okay. Where do you want to go?
Let's go,
Let's go. Where do you want to go?
You did it.
You're the leader.
Let's go.
No, not that one, not that one, not that one.
Okay.
No.
Wait, where would 3 be?
Yeah, that one.
There?
That one, yeah.
Yeah, right.
There.
Then we get 3 more rolls.
4.
Okay.
Good job.
Oh, that's
Okay.
1.
1.
no.
1.
Grab the yarn.
Let's grab the yarn.
You can interact with anything that you choose as usual.
Wait, do I have one?
Last one.
This is unlocked.
Yeah.
That's right.
This is gonna be 6.
Can we?
Subscribe to
You can grab the rope.
Oh,
Yeah, you can grab the rope, so as long as it stays on your platform, or you can put it over the little
Stake the rope.
wand or whatever you have.
We can climb with that.
Maybe you could climb with rope. Yep, maybe.
So you
5.
now wait a minute.
Let's go.
Up the mouse.
Let's interact with this person.
Oh, okay. Why that?
Interact with the
This
person.
is.
And then kill him.
Go 1.
How many?
5.
4.
we got 5. No,
No, it's
that's it. No,
That's it? Okay.
just keep 4.
4. We want to interact with the person.
Oh, my one.
Subscribe to Comfy.
You too.
And then we got our roll for climbing.
Okay, so you don't need to climb for that because it's short enough, but what you do is you come across 2 orcs who are standing in front of a scepter, and they would go ahead. I'm not going to ruin it now because this is just an example video, but there would be a scenario that would go with this. For my teachers watching, I have this thing called a BattleBook, which breaks down all of the different scenarios. I referenced this in kind of my live stream the other day. These are all the different scenarios that they can interact with. So, as a teacher, I would have them here. They would do their daily rolls, which is just their quick movement around the board, which is anywhere from 2 to 4 rolls, depending on what you want them to do. And then when you get to the more complex interactions of picking up and fighting and interacting, you have this BattleBook thing. So you can see, actually doing the BattleBoard is not as intimidating as it would seem. And again, if you're going for daily rolls, you don't have to do this, but, excuse me guys, you will see that I have these cards here that are laid out. Every player in my game has a character card, so the mage, priest, all those different classes. There's a male and female version. So what they have to do is, they have to lay out their cards so I know that they're present. Not having your character card on a battle day or a BattleBoard day means you're actually not physically there. And then on the other side over here is they have weapons. So any weapon, so this person has a sword. Over here we've got a hammer, a cleaver, a spear. This is where if you had armor, food, any other things that can be used in the BattleBoard, which I'll get to in a little bit. When it comes to movement, I always use the 6-sided dice. Weapons, I have 8-sided, 12-sided, 20-sided. Then I've got some other ones. I've got my percentile dice, which are really fun to use. I've got my 30-sided, my 24-sided, and then I have my 10-sided dice as well. So those have to do with weapons and movement based on what they're doing. So how do we end the session? Essentially what will happen is they would then go apart with this interaction. Now the interaction in this case I'm not going to give away because this is a new BattleBoard layout. But essentially what they would do is they would come up and then I would read from the BattleBook the story that they got into. My BattleBoard's not entirely finished, but you can see that I filled it with all kinds of different items and interactivity and people, and you know, there's little stones and rocks and plants and all kinds of things. And the new part is that my BattleBoard now stretches around the entire room. So I don't have to change this every month or every 2 months like I used to. The BattleBoard, which is not 100% complete yet, goes all the way around the room. So you can actually have this living, breathing, interactive story that I talked about on the live stream that goes about the entire classroom. And again, this is probably, I don't know, 60 plus feet of BattleBoard. So thanks to my crew for helping me out. It works kind of one of 2 ways. If you're doing a quick BattleBoard day, you show up, you pick your leader, you roll. Why do we pick leaders? Well, we're talking about skills, and that's another thing for another video. They use their rulers for movement. When it comes to rulers, I've got these. This is actually clipped from a Warhammer kind of marker. I just clipped 6 inches for the marking. Again, your movement can be anything that fits your game. I've also got these. I got them from a Dungeon Crate as a gift, which is really cool. Check out Dungeon Crate for if you want to get a monthly subscription for new things for BattleBoard. It's an awesome little toy and subscription box. But again, every foot is an inch, or sorry, every 5 feet is a number on the dice. So if you roll a 1, you move 5 feet, 10 feet all the way, in which to 30 feet for the length of the ruler. So when it comes to quick movements, they would get 2 to 4 daily rolls and move the first way that you saw them, where they just kind of move the path. If they intend to fight or they have anything more than 4 moves, they would be equipping their characters. If they have anything over 4, I have them often equip the characters and the weapons, and then the battling occurs. How do we battle? Let's simulate a battle. So with that done, that's it. There's their movement. And I encourage this every day. And I always say, if you're just moving with 2 to 4 rolls, which could be anywhere from 2 inches through to about 12 to 20 some inches of movement, depending on the luck of the roll, which is why I love dice, because you don't want it to just be like an automatic, you go this far. And again, 2 inches would be the 10 foot on my ruler. Anyway, I don't want to get too confusing. So they roll, they move, and at the end, they just head on back to their guild, and then they work. This means that you don't have to be there like honing in on them the entire time. So it takes the pressure off of. And these quick daily rules keep the board moving. So of course the question arises next, which is, well, what do you do if they turn around and they're going to get into an encounter? Well, here's what you do.
Get your popcorn ready.
Okay, so let's say hypothetically in this scenario they talked to these monsters, and the monsters in turn decided that screw them, it's time to fight. So how does fighting work? Fighting's very simple. I have over here a dice tower and a health counter. So for argument's sake, we'll pretend this guy's not here and it's a one-on-one fight with this big guy. So I went on to Thingiverse and I searched D&D health tracker or health dial, whatever it is. Again, I put the link in the live stream for my last thing about BattleBoards. And I printed off one of these. So I would set the health. So let's say this orc had 60 health. Turn it like that, and just a little tip is put a little red marker or a line if it doesn't have an indicator so that you know which 2 numbers you're reading. So they have 60. What these guys would have is health tracking sheets. I told them not to bring them for today because that's okay. They're in focus now. So they would take their health tracking sheets and we'd go turn by turn. Because they initiated it, what would happen is they would roll to see who's attacking me using the same numbers from before. So I'll get you to roll the 6-sided to see who's attacking.
5.
So who's 5? So that means that we have this lovely, super helpful student who is going to help. Now, if we look at her character, which is the mage, you'll see that she has no weapon. That means she can only punch. So the punch damage is this 6-sided dice. So I gave her a 6-sided dice. So she just rolls. And I take 3 damage. So you just go to your health dial as the game master and you adjust to 57. And now I have 57 health left. Now it's my turn. You can set in any way, shape, or form you want. You can use whatever you want, but I just look at the actual figures on the board, and that guy's got a big giant Warhammer mace-like thing. So to me, that's a 12-sided. So I would grab a 12-sided dice. So I need to determine who I'm fighting. And this came about because certain kids would have all the food and armor, and then it became impossible in which to kind of actually have any sort of incentive to fight them. So I roll to see who I'm attacking. I roll and I get a 6. Who's 6?
Me.
Perfect. Okay. And then I would roll my weapon dice down my little dice towers, which were donated by an amazing group from Saskatchewan in Canada here. And I got a 7. So that means on his health tracking sheet, he would go to his health tracking sheet and he would go -7. Now, if he had armor, that I would subtract some of the damage I do. And again, this is all reflective of the game you want. And this would go back and forth until I'm dead or all of them are dead. Traditionally, the monster will die before 6 players do. You can do this in any way, shape, or form that you want, okay? At the end of the battle, you can then, if they have movement left, they can continue to move, or they can plain and simple just end the BattleBoard session. The other thing that's important to note is that when they pick up things, so for example, if you look, they are carrying around this big hairy piece of rope here, kind of turn their character. So that's something they picked up. I have rope in my game, so that would cash in as a rope card. One thing for battleboarding is that you have to make it so they have to get to a point to collect items. So on this board, I have a little token. They're just little colored beacons or little flat discs, actually, that they're just 3D printed circles, really is what they are. And they have to get their character onto one of these to drop things off. What this does is this makes sure that kids are actually collaborating and strategizing about when and what they do. Because let's say this was another guild and this was another little monster here. They might want that rope for something that they want to do, so they might engage and battle each other.
Hold up.
intercepted, or characters every day will move on my board, so they might get in the way and all kinds of scenarios. So this forces that collaborative piece, which I'm a really big fan of with the battle board. You can have the rope. So, thank you to my people who helped me out. Oh, Matt, zoom in on the face. YouTube famous. Oh, look at him, look at him. He's so happy. Gonna be famous. So thank you guys for helping me. So you can see battle boards can go really quickly for daily rolls, and then sometimes it does take a lot of time in a 40-minute period. Sometimes it can take up to 20 minutes, but this is why questing works. You can give them the quest to do their work, and then I can check in. They can move, and when they need an interactivity piece, you can just go to the BattleBook and then go from there. So, takes about a minute to do your daily rolls, and sometimes 15 to 20 minutes if the dice don't roll well and damage doesn't go down fast enough. But in essence, you should be able to do BattleBoard sessions quite quickly. And that's the bell, and I gotta go, and thank you to my helpers. Your prize, because you have a prize for helping me, which you didn't know, is I will give you guys 10 rolls on the BattleBoard whenever it is you want.
Like and subscribe.
And candy, maybe. Okay, see ya.
Hold up.
Okay, so the question always arises as to what do we have for BattleBoard. So I've got this little tool holder for like bits and bolts and nuts and whatever things fit in there. And I just kind of repurposed it. So like what you're looking at right there, that's actually 3D filament when I change my spool on my 3D printer. There's beads, there's a lot of Lego related pieces. These are all broken bits, so kids have brought in like broken pieces of Lego or Warhammer figures. Kind of excuse the blurriness here. My autofocus was not working really well. So as it kind of adjusts, you're going to see that I stuck some to some paint and some plaster, and I just let it dry and painted it red. These are all food elements. A great place is the Michaels store. Just go to Michaels and check their little area for little fairy gardens and stuff. Little eggs, those are Lego bananas. There's a Lego chicken. There's just all kinds of random bits and bolts or bits and whatever things that'll just go in there. So start collecting, become a little hoarder of just little things. These are just little figures. These were donated to me, but again, you go to garage sales, little toy spiders from the dollar store, all of those fit. I 3D printed blood splats just for if characters died. I've got my dice. Again, those are for Michaels from the little hobby and diorama section, little books. Those were just little toxic things. Cotton, Halloween, when stores blow out those things. 3D printers are huge. That website Thingiverse, if you go there, type in D&D, there's a little bread card and little stores. Just paint them brown or whatever the color may be. And then again, Canada doesn't have pennies anymore, so I kept a few pennies. That was again something from Michaels. Again, those are from Michaels. They were in a little tube of medieval army men. These again are just little things from the dollar store, Warhammer figures, repurposed D&D things. So there's really no limit to this. A great idea again for BattleBoard resources is to go ahead and check out Michaels when I mentioned earlier, they blow out all the Halloween supplies and stuff. So I found little tokens there that have monetary values on them. That's a little fence. It was a couple 3D printed fails I repurposed. That fence was from the Halloween displays, similar to the Christmas displays that they have. Again, the little fairy garden kind of section. So all of these things can be used in any way, shape, or form to bring your BattleBoard to life. So get creative, get stacking and keeping things and hoarding things together. And in reality, whatever it is, the kids are going to be captivated and engaged by it. You don't need the fanciest, most expensive, high-end stuff. Half of my stuff, as I always talk about, from the idea from garbage to gold, it's literal repurposed stuff, 3D printed fails or 3D printed successes. People using food containers with plaster inside to make molds of things. It is limitless to what you can put on the BattleBoard. So no matter what your theme, medieval's pretty generic. You can fit most things, but feel free to try little bits of anything. Again, I'll show you, got a couple more things here. So again, as I'm going to kind of just look, you can see a lot of this stuff is built with just that foam core stuff. You can look up D&D terrain crafting. You find just hundreds of hours of videos online about how to do it. And again, I am the world's worst crafter. There again, that's just foam with a little bit of paint and some texture applied on top. There's another example of it for that staircase. And again, when it comes to collecting stuff for battle boards, that is rocks from outside. Like anyone can pick up rocks. That's not too challenging. I got, I believe what I'm going to pick up here, yes, is that dragon from the dollar store. I think that was $2. There's even a video by a guy in Black Magic Craft who shows how to repurpose those. Again, stones, rocks, diamonds, jewels, beads. That was a bridge from an aquarium. Speaking of, you can see other aquarium pieces. Get creative when it comes to this stuff. There's nothing that does not fit a battle board. The kids aren't looking for perfection and craziness. Kids will often be like, oh my god, I have this, can I bring it for the battle board? A, they're going to be super pumped that you're using something in their class. B, free for you, jackpot as a teacher. And 3, they're going to tell everybody, then more stuff is going to come in, and then more people are going to be engaged and captivated by the whole process because the kids are involved in its creation.
Hold up.
Alright, so all you got to do, go to Google Image to make your own monsters in 5 seconds. Search monster. I always recommend searching transparent background just so that you get something that's going to be clear on the paper. You don't want something printed. This thing is creepy as all heck, so I'll use this monster. You do your classic, your right click, and we will copy that sucker. Pop that into a Word document, give it the old paste. And then you want to scale it. If you really want to scale it specifically, I mean, I would recommend just going up here to the top right where you can scale it. We're going to go centimeters. I'll say, mathematically, I'll say about 3 by 3 would be good. So just something like this. And then what I do is I'll just make a couple of them and give them a little bit of space. Screw it, doesn't even matter. Okay. Yeah, so if you want to space them, you just have to go here and you have to go text wrap and you have to go tight, and then you can just kind of move them at will and go ahead and fire that sucker off to the printer. Grab that sucker hot off the press. Problemo, instant monster. So now what do we do with this? I'll show you. Alright, so you take these monsters, you just give them the old trim, and then the little trick is to make sure you have the overhang at the bottom. I'll kind of show you why in a second. So you go and you take it, and again, I'm just doing this super fast. I'd be much cleaner if it was myself doing this properly for the game. Give it a little, I mean, I just do this because I'm an idiot. But then you go ahead and you got yourself your little monster. So now what do you do with this? You got to mount it so that it stands up, and there's a super easy way to do it. Alright, so now you got your monster. What you do is you take 2 pieces of cardboard of the same length, fold them in half, like this, and they are going to act as a stand. And what I'm going to do, just kind of off camera, just because it's hard to do this, I don't have a proper rig, is I am going to tape it so that the monster will stand up like this. So I'll be right back to show you kind of the finished product. And again, I here just did a really super quick job, but you can see that now you have a monster target that is all set up and ready. And then again, this might be a little bit tall. You would just print these to scale for whatever works for your game. And then if you want it to lay flat, a really easy trick to do this is on the underside, go get a washer, about a 1/2 inch or an inch washer depending on the size of your model. Glue it on the bottom with some hot glue and you'd be done. And again, I would do a much cleaner job if this was actually for my battle board. You know, I would use hot glue and I would keep it all clean, but that is a super easy way that you can make markers, treasure markers, enemies, heroes, anything. And then I'd recommend, if you're doing this properly, to just do it double-sided. Which is easy, just print your copy, flip it over, and you'll have kind of both sides. But anyway, you can make BattleBoard tokens with literal nothing. You don't need a budget to do it, for sure. Okay? So again, I know that I'm super blessed with just room. I just have space, and that's super lucky because, again, I'm a middle school teacher, but we're in an old high school. So actually, even in back here, in that little room, is where I actually have my teacher desk and books and mark and stuff. So I'm able to maximize this classroom space. So let's say, okay, I want a battle board. I just don't have the room physically to plop a table in. Well, here's 3 more ideas in order to use the little paper figures or things you can to make space. So if you were to go ahead and grab a bulletin board in any room or even a wall where you could tape it, you could do the following thing. So you're like, okay, I want to do this. So I went up and I searched D&D map and I found this. Now I would never use it as a standard 8 by 11.5 paper. In one of my other videos I talked about a website called Rasterbaiter. Yes, that is what it's called. But it's a wicked map and kind of it blows up images. So you would take something like this. It's got a whole bunch of cool exploratory spaces. And what you would do is you would blow it up to be about 3 pieces of paper wide by 3 pieces of paper, or and you'd have a 3 by 3 grid or tic-tac-toe board, whatever you want to call it, and you would tack that up on the board. Okay, so let me just do that real quick. So I've got my map for my little just impromptu battle board here, and then here's kind of a cool idea, because movement in D&D is based on certain distances that your characters travel, and they often use a grid. So if you search D&D grid, you will find something that looks like this, and then this obviously isn't very useful because, oops, now we can't see our map. So in comes the beauty of transparency paper, and then blammo with the transparency paper, which I photocopied this right onto it. You go ahead and you get your grid, and now I will tack that over top. Quick side note, yes, I do know the scale is totally off. This is where you'd use that website again, like I mentioned earlier, that Rasterbaiter website to blow it up and it'd be all proportionate. But then what you can do is in each box where you want something, here's our original little spooky monster. So here's our original little spooky monster, and then you can actually just pin it, and then when things move, you can just move them across like that. So there's another way for the battle board. Now, if you don't have anything like this, you can do the exact same thing on a whiteboard, and it would look like this. So again, I've got some whiteboard space, so you could even do this, and again, just adjust your size and your scale, and then you go ahead and you have your thing pinned. You use magnets instead of pins, and then grab your monster, scale it to size, and then of course now you can have your monster magnetically on the board. And again, this does not take any physical actual space up in the classroom because it's mounted onto walls. Again, the other solution that you can do, of course, is to hide things in excess space. So a quick pan of my room is going to show that I have tons of cabinets. And again, this used to be a high school science lab, so it had lots of extra space. So what I did was I started hiding things in spaces that were typically not used for me. So you can see I actually have a part of my battle board hidden here. If you go inside that mountain, this is what the inside of the mountain would look like. The other thing I did, and I won't reveal this because I know some of my students watch my videos, there's a chunk of battle board hidden under here because there has been a piece that has been reoccurring on every rendition of the battle board that has not moved because it's physically bolted to the board that kids have not noticed yet, but it's a secret access into something underneath there. So again, your battle board can be anything you want. It can be made with the most expensive, crazy tabletop gaming things, or it can be made with literal paper and cardboard. The whole thing comes down to you as a teacher and what you have access to and what you're able to bring to life. And again, it is all about creativity. There is nobody, and I mean nobody, who is incapable of doing this because you can do it with literal garbage that you repurpose. Fancy stuff, paper, glue, magnets, pins, anything. And it is fun. It brings a whole new element to my class that kids just love. And it's always, when are we doing it? When are we doing it? And it's just continued to grow for 4 years. And it's probably going to continue to grow for 4, 5, 10, 15 more years as we continue to adapt and change it. So anyone can do it with any material at all. All right, so I've been filming this video over the course of several days. I've missed my deadline I wanted because I just keep adding to it. Because I'm hoping as people watch this that they're going to turn around and they're going to say, okay, so what do I have to do about this? How do I create this, add this? What if I don't have time, space, money, budget, resources? You know, the whole concept of this battle board, like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, it continues to change, continues to evolve, and I just continue to find different ways to do it, with building it with the most expensive, crazy things. And I know I'm very lucky because I've got tons of donations from gamers in the community, and you can do the same thing. If you're a Facebook user, just go and search D&D or gaming or Warhammer groups on Facebook in your area. Send a little email out. This is what I do, guys. I'm just looking for any bits and things that you would have for donations. And you would be shocked at how much the gaming community supports this. But again, if you don't, like I just showed you a little while ago, you can turn around and you can build this stuff with printed paper, with cardboard, with tacks, magnets. You just get creative, right? And repurpose stuff. When they liquidate and blow out Halloween and Christmas stuff, the little dioramas, the trees, the cotton, everything like that can work. You can create this stuff out of anything and everything from an infinite budget to no budget whatsoever. So I guess in summary, the whole concept of the battle board is to create an extension of your game that is a physical representation of where kids are. So it's areas they can explore, they can uncover. They can go to different areas. They can fight monsters, engage, find a reward that'll help them during the class, or you can start building in cross-curricular missions. So, you go to the math teacher, they have an issue with this subject in this area. Shh. So you go ahead and you go to the math teacher, and they're like, oh, we have to build in this concept and this idea that the kids are struggling with, and you can create a little bonus side quest. Oh, you come here, the person needs you to help with this, and, they'll give you a reward. Again, it's a huge push for reading and writing for me because it's a bit of a low point in our district. I want to make sure I can bring that up. So I have a lot of the reading and writing in my quests. I think I mentioned this again. I've probably referenced the live stream about 1,000 times. I apologize for that. It was fun. I really liked it. But I talked about I have this little vial of hydrophobic sand. We talk about hydrophobic things in our first unit, but I don't have enough for every kid, and it's not as fun when they just do a demo. So, they encounter a person who gives them this sand. He doesn't know what it is, and they have to use their science knowledge to figure out what it is. So you can build, extension things to hit on curricular goals and concepts that you may have not had a full time to assess or you wanted more focus on. And my battle board now is a year-long thing. So sometimes they might run into unit 4 or 5, which is not things that I get to till April, May, or June. And I can put them in, and they might encounter these scenarios in September, and then it gives them the ability to look forward ahead, plan, and do research. And again, I just find it's become this living, breathing thing in the classroom that just continues to change, to adapt, and it can be done with anything. So I would encourage you to give it a try. If you have any questions, of course, you can comment below. I'll help out. I'm on a mission, with my little army of what do kids do? Hashtag. Sure, it probably looks better if kids do there. Something like that. Hashtag Game of Class. That group is doing a phenomenal job with tons of ideas and stuff in there. And when you check that out, you're just going to see the community continues to grow. And I just want to help people change education. I think it's just so stagnant, and we just need to meet kids where they are, which is that fun, engaging, creative, critical thinking, because those are the things we need. And this battle board is a really good way in which that you can continue to push that creatively. I just sounded British. Where you can push that creatively, where you can turn around and just challenge yourself to create and make and whatever the case may be, to bring the classroom experience alive. Because again, that's where people struggle with gamification. The biggest mistake that people make is they just chuck prizes out with no rhyme or reason. You want that theme, that narrative, build it into everything in your classroom. Your items, your story, everything comes off of your theme. And then from there, you can build the actual physical space where kids are. Whether it's, again, I've said this 1,000 times, to drill this into your head. What we call that drill and skill as a teacher. I'm not a big fan of it, but you turn it around and you just say, look, we have this physical space where you are, and here it is. It's tacked on the board. Move the things. It's a physical character that you can move around. And my God, I'm a hand talker. And you know what? It doesn't matter what it looks like, how much time and effort or money has been spent on it. The kids are going to like it regardless. So start something small. I put on my my Twitter, a Kickstarter where it's a book, and they open up this book and it becomes a whiteboard thing, so you can draw your grid right on it and have these little interchangeable missions with different scenarios and terrains. Guys, get creative. I would love to hear in the comments or see on the Twitter feed. Our little professional learning network, our PLN, continues to grow with so much cool ideas. I'd love to see how you guys do your battle boards. There is just, I don't know, it's just so much fun. I love to see how people have creatively come up with different solutions to adapt this for time, space, money, resources, and all those kinds of things. I just love to hear it. So I hope this big, long-winded, crazy video made sense. I hope that we are at the point where you are trying small scale, large scale, medium, whatever, some sort of scale, even a one-shot, 1 week, 1 month battle board installation. in your classroom, but you can do it. I know you can do it. You guys are doing incredible stuff out there. So I'd love to hear what you're doing, how you're doing it, and it's amazing. So keep up the good work. I hope you found this video helpful. I know I go this way, that way, everywhere. That's just what I am. Imagine being a kid in my classroom. It is probably torturous. I go all over the place. I have that scatterbrain thing, but hopefully I was able to streamline and edit this so that it was able to make a bit more sense. As usual, you know how to reach me. Twitter, check out my Facebook group under the Gamification guy. You obviously know my YouTube if you're here. Twitter at Mr. Hebrew PE. Just reach out to me. Let me know if I can help you in any way, shape, or form. In the meantime, my friends, have a fantastic family day in Canada. I'm hopefully going to put this out tonight at midnight. So have a fantastic family day. Spend it with your families. Take care, everyone. And until next time.